we have Jackie DeAngelis, co-host of The Big Money Show. Garrett Bentry, Republican strategist, former senior advisor for the Senate Judiciary Committee, and my great pal, Mark Simone, WOR radio host. Mark Simone, we can go through lots and lots of numbers and issues. I'm talking Trump tough. Trump tough. After Biden's weakness in almost every aspect of it, I think this is going to be a hidden campaign issue.
Yeah, they usually, in every election, go for the opposite. Carter, you went to Reagan, as far as personality.
There you go. Right.
And
right.
Trump is tough, and there's nothing. He's got a lead now that nobody at this point in the polls has ever lost the nomination. He's got the nomination, and he's bulletproof thanks to the Democrats. Nothing could happen to him. Could he suddenly get bad press? Could he suddenly get arrested? There's nothing they can do to him anymore. He's now bulletproof. He's got the nomination. DeSantis gets wiped out in Iowa. Nikki Haley will not win South Carolina, her own state. Yeah. That'll be the end of her. Yeah. And then he's got it. It's clear sailing.
But I think, Garrett, let me go to you on this. This is an important thing. We watched, who was it the other night? Kash Patel, former National Security Advisor. You know how many Houthis there are lobbing bombs at our ships and the ships of others, clogging up the Red Sea? You know the number of Houthis? 2,000. 2,000. That's like 1/10 of a decent Trump rally. And yet, Joe Biden is afraid to take any steps, or afraid to take any steps against Iran, or afraid to take any steps to close the southern border. You follow? That's why I'm emphasizing this Trump tough idea. People want a strong, tough leader to change the whole direction of the country. And the mainstream media, the liberals in the media will never cover this. They haven't covered any issues Trump has done. The voters cover it, but not the media. But this is going to be almost an untold point. It's what I think. It wasn't tested in this poll so much, although strong leadership was a characteristic. What do you make of that?
Absolutely. I think people have seen the Biden's weakness, Larry, on the world stage and in America. You're talking about the borders wide open. You're talking about Afghanistan was toppled by the Taliban. Russia invaded Ukraine. Israel's been attacked by Hamas. Terrorism's back on the rise. People miss the mean tweets and statements from President Trump because they had a strong economy.
Yes.
They had a closed border. And the world was just a less dangerous place, right? And so I think an interesting part here is President Trump, he said this to me recently, that his voters are just very loyal to him, and that's why I think a lot of them have been annoyed with Ron DeSantis, other candidates who've taken shots at him, even tried to run against him, because they liked his policy. They liked the tax cuts. They liked the energy dominance. They liked the secure border. They liked the Supreme Court justices that he was picking. And so they missed that, right? And so I think that's the contrast election here in the primary, which he's running away with, up 35 points. That's massive here. And 83% of those voters are locked in with Trump. It's just hard to overcome in the primary.
Yeah, I mean, look, caucuses are tricky. And again, polls are not votes, but you're coming down to the short strokes. These were likely caucus goers, Jackie DeAngelis. It's interesting, too. I want to get your take on this. The key issues, yes, they're economy and border.
Yeah.
But actually, the economy has gone down and the border has gone up. I mean, you've got over 10,000 Biden illegals coming over the border every single day. We've talked about this on your great show before. So economic issues still number one, but immigration issues almost tied.
Because I think the immigration issues now have come to a city or state near you, and people are really feeling it. Whether you're a local mayor like Eric Adams in New York City, or you're a governor like Abbott who's dealing with it on a larger scale, people are sick and tired now of being, pressed more, squeezed more to pay for people who have come into this country illegally. So that directly ties into being an economic issue. And Biden has clearly lost control. And I'll add to that the third top issue that you mentioned. It was economy, it was immigration, and then foreign policy.
Yes.
Look how he's handled foreign policy. You had President Xi come from China to San Francisco and basically tell him, we are going to take Taiwan. Nobody is scared of this guy. And you've got all these other nations that are profiting as we continue to sort of shrivel and shrink here in the United States.
I like that, shrivel. That's a great word. Look, that's why I think people want Trump tough. I mean, I'm just saying, they want a strong leader. You're right, Carter going into Reagan. I think it's all over the place. Nobody wants to look at it. Trump has a way, okay? He is not necessarily going to take you to war. In fact, he's an anti-war guy. Trump's the guy that wants to get out of Ukraine if he can. Trump's the guy that made the Abraham Accords deal in the Middle East. Trump would never have left Afghanistan the way we left, but he might have made a deal. He's a brilliant negotiator, but he would do it from a position of strength, Mark Simone. I guess that's what I'm trying to articulate.
Yeah, he's the only president in our lifetime that never sent a troop anywhere into battle, anywhere in the world. We had peace from Kim Jong-un, from Putin. He knew how to keep them quiet. He, right now with Israel, even non-Jews, everybody in America doesn't feel that he's protecting, Biden is protecting Israel. They know Trump would stand up for them. Biden can't even protect the border. We have a January 6th every day on the border, just massive trespassing, unlawful entry. Trump would protect the border. And people look at this border and say, if you can't even run a border, how are you going to protect the country from an attack? Trump is the perfect guy for this occasion.
Garrett, you think Trump would not do anything while Houthis threw ballistic missiles at our ships? Or you think Trump would let Iran get away with what Iran is doing? Because Iran's the paymaster and the strategist for all the terror. What do you think Trump would do? Take a gather.
Yeah,
Take a guess.
absolutely. I don't think they'd be doing it in the first place if he was there. We saw this all.
They'd be scared to death.
Correct. They
'Cause
would.
They know he would take out. He took out Soleimani.
Correct.
He'd take them out. He has the mullah's cell phone numbers.
Right. Right.
That's what he would say. He would
Exactly.
go
He
and
said,
get the
why'd you
mullahs?
send me a picture of your house? It's a
Yeah,
famous
yes,
one,
he
right?
would.
Yeah.
Yes, he'd do a Google map, figure out where they live, and then tell them where they live.
Yeah, he said, sir, why'd you send a picture of my house? He said, you're going to have to figure that one out, right? It's this famous line, very funny, Larry, as you know. But no, you're right. I mean, I think preemptively they wouldn't even do it. A lot of these other countries didn't want to test him because they knew that he was a strong president. The world was more safe. Our allies were more safe, too, under President Trump. No new wars were started.
Mm-hmm.
He eviscerated ISIS off the face of the planet in just a few months in his presidency. China, with the tariffs, those type of things, he was standing up to them as well. And so, again, I don't think this would even be happening under President Trump.
You know, Jackie, just on the other point, we're talking about immigration rising. The border issue is such a catastrophe now. So Trump talked to Mexico's president, who I think it was originally Nieto. I could be wrong. Then Obrador came in. Okay. They didn't want remain in Mexico. So Trump said, fine, I'll double your tariffs on automobiles and manufacturers. They depend on us. I think right now they're our biggest trading. He said, fine, I'll double your tariffs and you'll never sell another car in the United States. Guess what? They decided to remain in Mexico.
It went into effect.
And they put in about 35 or 50,000 troops, and they put up a lot of money to do it. I like the trade negotiating. We're going to have Bob Lighthizer on later. He even likes it more than I do. But before we get to that point, that's the kind of toughness and negotiating that needs to be done. Joe Biden can't solve any of these problems. Nobody's afraid of it. Nobody is afraid of Biden.
Absolutely not. And it's funny because he walks around touting Bidenomics right now when they told him specifically don't say Bidenomics. I was joking on my show. It must be because he forgot or something. He doesn't have the mental capacity to even remember what his staff is telling him to do. But your point on President Trump is 100% on the money. We wouldn't be in any of these situations, whether it's with Iran, whether it's with our neighbors, to the south of us, whether it's with China, whoever our enemies are, he would take care of it in advance.
How about you can't have a gasoline-powered car?
Well,
think Trump will stand for that?
Absolutely
How about you have
not.
to drive an EV in 8 years?
He will drill.
How about you can't have a coal-fired pizza in New York City? You think Trump will stand up for that?
It's gotten outrageous.
Look, this is little stuff, but little stuff adds up to big stuff. Biden has nickel and dimed the American consumer for 3 years, and they're sick to death of it, Mark Simone.
And Trump would be the first president to spend his lifetime buying kitchen appliances. Millions, millions of refrigerators, toilets. He knows all about this stuff. You know, they used to say Joe Biden is the best politician money can buy. So I think a lot of this green energy stuff, it's like infrastructure. It's a chance to hand out contracts, money, overpay for everything, and get little for it.
By the way, last one to you, Garrett. I don't know whether you'll like this or not. I don't know whether Chuck Rasser liked this or not. But I'm going to tell you that there's a very strong chance, if Mr. Trump wins, he will seek to restore executive budget impoundment authority to cut spending because Congress can't do it, won't do it. Nixon was the last guy to have it, and then we know what happened there with Watergate and a left-wing Congress. Trump wants to restore impoundment authority. So you won't have to wait 5 years, 10 years, or never. You can right there take away all those Biden subsidies, for example, all those phony loans, for example. How about budget authority? Give me budget impoundment. Congress going to love that?
Well, I mean, obviously Congress wouldn't love that.
Oh,
but, you know,
Garrett.
you'd be surprised, right? But I
Got to
think
do it. He's
you know,
got to be tough. That's what a tough president would do.
And I think it's interesting here because all of the things we're at here, you're talking about the reckless spending, the taxation have led to this inflation that has crushed the American people. You know, getting rid of the Keystone Pipeline, the attack on energy independence has made gas prices go up, and it's made us more reliant on the Middle East, which is a bad thing, obviously, going forward here. So I think, you know, that's something President Trump could do to obviously get
Every
spending under
place he
control.
goes, starting with that CNN debate last winter, when he says drill, baby, drill, it is the biggest applause line imaginable.
It is.
That's got to mean something.
Because that will fix the problem.
We'll fix the problem.
With
A lot of
pricing.
problems. Mark Simone, Garrett Bentry, and Jackie DeAngelis, thank you ever so much. Don't forget Jackie's show. Every day, co-host Brian Brenberg and Taylor Riggs on The Big Money Show, weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on Fox Business.